Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've done a video, but today I have a very special guest, May Gao.
I'm May. I'm a pre-med at Brown. I'm studying public health.
So you've been making videos since freshman year, right?
I've been making them since the end of my senior year of high school.
Yeah. So we finally got to really meet in person. I feel like we've always seen each other around, and I've watched a lot of your videos and everything. So today we're gonna be doing what we like and dislike about Brown. We just filmed a Q&A on May's channel, so I will leave that in the cards somewhere. So definitely check that out. It'll also be in the description.
To start on a positive note, I think something that I really like about Brown is that the professors are really cool. I think all the professors I've had have been really great at teaching, especially in the chemistry department. Chemistry is a subject that I hated in high school, but in college the teachers were so great that I actually enjoyed the subject. So I have to take courses like organic chemistry that are known for being notoriously difficult, but at Brown I think the professors make the class actually sort of enjoyable, and just the way that the structure of the class is set up. The TAs are really supportive and are actually incredible at teaching. So there's a huge support system in terms of academics that I've really enjoyed at Brown.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the professors, they're really invested in the success of the undergraduates in their course, and they really do care about their course, and they're not just doing research and the course is something else they have to do on the side.
Another thing that I like about Brown is just the size of the school. When I was visiting colleges in high school, I visited Pomona, which is a very, very small school. Total undergraduate enrollment of Pomona is 1,700 students, so that's the size of one class at Brown. And when I visited Pomona, I realized I just did not want to go to school that small. On the other hand, I visited UCLA, which is really huge. The undergraduate enrollment is probably 40,000.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be in a school that was sort of being lost at sea, where I just would not recognize anyone. I'd feel kind of anonymous. And also I really wanted personalized advising or just academic support, especially because I think as a pre-med it's really important to be able to have access to resources and not feel you constantly need to compete for everything, especially in research. So I definitely want to go to school that was sort of on the medium size, and Brown is perfect in that it's more towards the small side, but it doesn't feel too constricted.
Yeah, definitely. I also visited my state school, so Rutgers. That's also 50,000 people, and I just felt it was way too big. So I really loved that Brown was big enough that you could meet a lot of other people outside of your major and not really know every single person on campus. But every time I go out to go to a study space or go grab food or something, I always run across somebody that I know. So I think it's really nice, and it definitely makes it feel more friendly and more at home.
I like how you use the word home, because I feel when I first came to Brown, it didn't really feel like a college campus. Me, it felt more like a home or a community. It didn't feel like an institution in that when I visited a lot of other Ivy League schools, it felt very just large, and I felt very small, and every building was just super intimidating.
So the next thing I think that's really cool about Brown is that we don't really have different schools here. So we don't have a school of engineering and a school of arts and sciences. It's all one big organization under Brown College. So it's super easy to switch majors since you don't have to switch around different schools, especially if you're interested in something like engineering, where you usually have to apply to a separate school at other colleges for that. At Brown, if you decide you want to do engineering, you just say, I want to change my major to engineering today, and then you can take classes in that. Or if you've already declared, if you're an upperclassman, you can just fill out a couple papers and then change your major just like that.
I know at other schools you have to have a certain GPA to get into some schools, and that's so intimidating. So I'm really glad that Brown doesn't have anything like that. It's really easy to switch. Definitely not a high pressure thing I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think it also makes it super easy to double major, because you don't have to do cross registration across schools or anything like that.
Yeah. So the next thing that we want to talk about things that we like, is the open curriculum. I think everyone knows about the open curriculum. That's sort of the buzzword when you hear about Brown University. Essentially what that means is that you can take pretty much whatever you want. Obviously you still have some requirements, when you declare your major you have to take a certain number of requirements for your concentration. We have concentrations at Brown, not majors, and we also don't have minors, but we can double concentrate. So within your concentration you have to take probably 10 to 15
usually around there
requirements. If you're pre-med, there are also a handful of requirements you need to take, but other than that you really have free reign on whatever you want to do.
I think it's really cool with the open curriculum because you can be really deep in your major and take a lot of other courses outside. I've taken sociology courses.
I've taken poetry, art.
Yeah. A ton of people will take English or writing courses classes. So you can take like really, really cool classes without having to worry, I gotta fulfill my math requirement, or I gotta fulfill like physics or something like that.
And you also like don't need to be in the department in order to take that class, which is really great. Even if there is a class that says on the registering website, it might say like you have to be a visa concentrator to take this class, but you don't. Like you just show up and like ask to be added to the class. And I think in general it's not too difficult. For most classes, if you're persistent, they'll let you in if it's capped.
Yeah, I think that also speaks to like Brown's size, because it's not huge. It's like pretty easy to get into the classes that you want to, as long as you keep showing up to class in the first 2 weeks.
That was a really huge like thing that drew me into Brown, is that I wouldn't have to fight for my classes. I just like really did not want to have to worry about like getting into lecture classes that I need to take for certain requirements. And also because you don't have like that many requirements, you don't need to like stress about being in certain classes.
Especially with the intro courses that they know everybody in that major needs to take, they're generally uncapped, I think, or capped at like 200 or 250 people, which is more than enough. So another thing that we want to talk about is the culture at Brown regarding collaboration, and just Brown being a very non-cutthroat school. So at certain other schools that are maybe more pre-professional or maybe more competitive, I've heard stories of people saying people would sabotage them or not give them the notes or like not help them on assignments, whereas Brown is really not like that. Everybody is super kind and helpful.
And I think seeking help is always encouraged. Like professors want you to do well. Like they don't want you to fail, contrary to like, I don't know, media and like popular belief. I feel like people at Brown don't really talk about their own accomplishments. Like I've never heard
so humble.
Yeah, people don't brag about like what clubs they're like on leadership for or like things that they won. Like I literally was talking to someone about like their summer plans, and I was like, oh, what are you doing this summer? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna be in Bay Area. And I was like, I knew he was CS, so I was like, oh, like what company are you working for? And he was like, Google. And then me and my friend were just like, oh, you're working at Google. And he literally got so embarrassed. He was like, shh. And I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. But yeah, like people are super like humble, and like they don't take ambition to an extent of like being egotistical about themselves.
So the next one would be cross-registration with RISD, which is the Rhode Island School of Design, which is across the street from Brown. So I think it's really cool, and this was one of the reasons that I chose to come to Brown. So you can take courses in things like graphic design or printmaking or fashion or art history. So it provides a really nice break from the more quantitative and academic side of Brown. One of my favorite things about the people here is that just hanging out with different types of people, you get to learn a lot of different things about what they're interested in. So I think that that's really cool.
Yeah, it's so nice being in a school where like not everyone is just focused on like curing cancer. That was like what my high school was like. Yeah, everyone was just like really into science research and stuff. Everyone was like either pre-med, like into like science research and stuff, or they were like doing stuff with AI and like CS.
Oh wow.
So I was just like, these are my only career options.
For me at least, people just hadn't really figured out what they wanted to do. So there are like certain people who like were interested in things, but they just weren't really sure how to make a career out of that, or just didn't really explore it much in high school because there wasn't really an opportunity. But in college, like you can literally take classes on costume and prop design and like things like that. I have like some good friends who write their own plays and are really into filmmaking. I think it's really cool that everybody has a lot of different interests and are really committed to following those interests and doing as much as they can in there.
Now moving on to the things that we dislike.
Yeah, so a couple things about Brown that are not so great. I mean, I think with any college, there's definitely like the upsides and the downsides. The first one is just like the residential system at Brown is kind of bad. So it's just very unorganized. So when you come in freshman year, you're assigned to a dorm and you're assigned to a random roommate. But then sophomore year, you either go into Greek housing, special interest housing, or you enter the housing lottery. So you get a random slot time that you can sign up for a dorm.
And you have like a ridiculously like short amount of time.
You have like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you have like 5 minutes to decide where you want to live for the next year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's very stressful, and people freak out a lot because if you get placed pretty low on the housing lottery, like toward the end, a lot of times you will not really know where you're going to be living because they just don't really have enough space at the time. So you'll go into something called summer housing where they tell you over the summer where you'll be living. So it's definitely very stressful. And just in general, the dorms are fine. They're not like great because the buildings are old, and the nice dorms always go to the freshmen, and none of the dorms have air conditioning, which is fine if you're here during the year, but if you ever like live in the dorm over the summer, it's not a good time.
Another thing that I sort of dislike about Brown is just a lack of study spaces, and I feel like our amenities aren't that nice like compared to a lot of other colleges. Maybe it's due to like the size of our like undergraduate class, but there just aren't that many study spaces, and if there are nice study spaces, they tend to like lock the conference room so that students can't study there. And you have to like book rooms in advance, and I just don't understand why. Like if no one's using the room, just leave it unlocked.
Or they close early, like at 5 p.m.
Or you'll need like special swipe access to get in,
which is
to
annoying.
certain floors or buildings.
So the other thing is, because that you do live in a small town like Providence at Brown, there's not too much happening on the weekends. Personally, I'm more of an introvert. I don't really like to go out that much. So for me, it's not like that much of a drawback. But if you are somebody who's more into the party scene that you would find at a larger school, be aware that at Brown, it's not really that.
I feel like as you progress through your undergraduate career, you party progressively less and less. Like I feel like in freshman year, people are really excited about like I'm in college, I can party now. And there's just a lot of frat parties that you could go to. I feel like the majority of parties at Brown are like smaller scale. Hosted at like dorms or like hosted by cultural associations and stuff like that. To an extent, I feel like the party life is very like limited. If that's a really big priority for you, then like maybe take that into consideration. But otherwise, like I don't think it's like that big of a deal. I personally don't really party that often. I'd much rather just stay at home.
Me too.
Like honestly, I'm just too tired to go.
I'm always like in bed before midnight, like even on weekends, and I'm just like I would rather be at home in my bed watching Netflix.
Once like work starts piling up during the week, I'm just like I need Friday to just like
sleep,
do nothing. But I've still had a really good time like at parties, so it's not to say that like it's awful here, but
I think it's because like you know people and you like you just go to hang out with people that you know, so it makes it a good time.
I definitely think it matters more who you go with than the actual party itself.
And also with Providence being a small city, College Hill is a little bit removed from Providence, and when you're on campus, you do really much feel that this is kind of the only thing that exists, and you do really much feel that you're in a bubble.
I definitely think it's sort of also like a socioeconomic bubble. Like you forget that there are people that live here that are not college students. Especially because like on a day-to-day basis you don't really see people that are not college students or professors. There's like a lot of concentrated privilege on our campus. Being conscious of like the programs at Brown and like how they help our community and like what role we have in that. I feel like it's just been like something that I've considered a lot.
I think a lot of people have that view too, but I think it's cool that there's organizations on campus like Hope. They help with homelessness programs in downtown Providence because I think historically it has been more of an underprivileged area. And there's also programs within the CS department like Ignite CS, and I think Project Beam, which is a Brown University club and not only with CS. They go into elementary schools and middle schools and teach lessons there completely for free. And one of my roommates worked with Project Beam, which I think works with refugees in the Providence area.
I think, is that Bright?
Oh, yeah, Bright.
Yeah, Bright.
Yeah, so they work with refugees in the Providence area, and they like also do free tutoring.
Yeah, I think they like go to their homes and like interact with their families and tutor on like a more individualized basis.
And then another thing that Brown does kind of lack is I think the advising system. I'm not exactly sure what I expected out of the advising system coming into college, but it is very hands-off. Like my freshman year, I was paired with a faculty advisor who was an art history professor. She was super sweet, but she couldn't really help me with what class I should take in CS or econ or any of that. So you kind of have to just learn to be independent in that and seek help in other areas. So whether that's upperclassmen or other professors of classes you've taken. But you do get to switch to a concentration advisor after you declare your concentration who's in your department and knows more about the field. I have a great advisor now who's very deep in the CS field, but he's also very hands-off. I have to take the initiative to schedule meetings and things, so you just have to be aware of that.
Yeah, I think advising is definitely what you make of it. I had a very similar experience with my freshman year advisor. She works in like alumni relations, so she can't really help with like course registration at all. And at one point in like the beginning of sophomore year, she's like, yeah, I can't really help you with like course advising stuff. No. Like I'm just here for like general encouragement and support. And I was like, oh my god. I think just being able to check in with someone is really great. And in terms of like finding other advisors, you could always ask your professors to be your unofficial advisors because that's a lot less pressure. But in sophomore year, you can switch your advisor to someone else. So like if you find a professor that you like, you can make them your official advisor instead of continuing to talk to your freshman year advisor.
Yeah, so our last one is that the math department here is not great. So if you're someone who's interested in math theory, not sure that this is the place for you. The applied math department is good.
Alma's like
great.
really good here.
Yeah, but In regards to straight math, a lot of people are unsatisfied with how math classes like calculus and linear algebra are taught here. A lot of the times, like the calculus will be taught by graduate students, and then linear algebra, the professor changes every single year, but I've never really heard good things about any of the professors who teach it. So it is a little bit challenging, especially because those courses are requirements for a lot of different majors. Pretty much any STEM major, I think that you have to take calculus at least.
And even like for me, I had the AP credit from high school, but because I'm pre-med and I'm going to be applying to schools in California, that some of them require you to take calculus in college, so I had to retake calculus, and it was just like not the best experience. Again, like as you said, the classes are so big that you need like graduate students to teach some sections, and they're really inconsistent in like the way that they teach. And because there's one main section where the main professor is teaching, being in a grad student class might mean that you're not learning the same material, or not having the same emphasis on the material that will be tested. So that can be really frustrating.
Especially because I think it's probably their first time teaching, so they also like are not really sure what to cover and how to grade consistently. So that can be really frustrating. But a lot of people will just take the class pass fail, which works pretty well. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. As I mentioned before, we filmed another video Q&A on May's channel, so definitely go check that out. I'll leave that down below or in the cards somewhere. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.